Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari.
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 Jaya Gopijana Vallabha Girivaradhari.
Jaya Gopijana Vallabha Girivaradhari.
Jaya Gopijana Vallabha Girivaradhari.
Jaya Gopijana Vallabha Girivaradhari.
Yashodanandana Vrajajanandana.
Yashodanandana Vrajajanandana.
Yashodanandana Vrajajanandana.
Yashodanandana Vrajajanandana.
Yamuna Tira Vanachari.
Yamuna Tira Vanachari.
Yamuna Tira Vanachari.
Yamuna Tira Vanachari.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare
Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Ram Ram, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Ram Ram, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare
Srila Prabhupada ki
Jai.
Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Bhutale Swapadam Ukam Paroti Vachalam Pankam Lankaram Yatpatam Vande Shri Guru Nirvarinam Paramananda Madhavam Shri Chaitanya Mishwaram Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Preshtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Vasyakya Deshadayana Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Krishna. Welcome to the Sunday Feast program. So ISKCON New Talavana is a very special place. It's in the middle of a vast stretch of place where there is no ISKCON temples. So Srila Prabhupada mentioned ISKCON temple is like an oasis in the desert. So it's a vast place, and ISKCON temple in New Talavana is so many devotees, so many people out here. So we're very fortunate to have it here. As devotees, and we thank the devotees for making this a wonderful place for us to come and take association and take inspiration. Thank you very much for the devotees of New Talavana. So today, just wanted to speak a few things from Srimad Bhagavad Gita. And so how many of you have read Bhagavad Gita? Even a few pages, few verses. Very nice. And if you have not read it, please kindly take a book today, and then please go through at least a verse every day. It's very helpful, very inspirational. So there are a few anecdotes from different scholars who have written about Bhagavad Gita. So one is Mahatma Gandhi. So he says, when doubts haunt me, when disappointment stab me at the face, I see no one ray of hope on the horizon. I turn to Bhagavad Gita and find a verse to comfort me, and I immediately begin to smile in the midst of overwhelming sorrow. Those who meditate on the Gita will derive fresh joy and new meanings from it every day. So that's very true. So Bhagavad Gita has inspired generations, and many philosophers have talked about it, from Albert Einstein to different scholars about Bhagavad Gita. So Bhagavad Gita is very special because it's something that is spoken by the Supreme Lord, Krishna himself. So we have many different sacred texts, religious texts. So it's written or compiled by different great saints, and who have done that out of inspiration from divine inspiration. But it's mostly written by saints. But Bhagavad Gita is very special because it is something that is spoken by God, who is all in all, Supreme Personality of God. So that gives a very special place. And so we should definitely have Bhagavad Gita at our home. We should read every day, and you will definitely see a lot of change in your life. And especially the commentaries, this book Bhagavad Gita as it is, written by Srila Prabhupada, is very special. It has changed the life of so many people, and it is not just for, usually so many people write about Gita, or talk about Gita, but mostly they speak from their own mind. They give their own interpretations, their own thoughts on Gita. But this is a very authentic book. The reason we're saying authentic is it's coming from a system of disciplic succession, from a teacher to a student, a guru to a disciple, and it comes down all the way to Srila Prabhupada, the author of this book. And he's capturing the teachings of all the great saints and acharyas who have been before him. And the teachings are preserved without any addition, no deletion. It's preserved as it is. That's why we call it as a Bhagavad Gita as it is. And so when you read from it, you can really be confident that you're actually hearing from the Supreme Lord Krishna himself directly. So that makes it very special. So that's why it has made so much changes to people. So people don't just speak on Gita, but they started living based on Gita. That makes a difference. So many Bhagavad Gita has been written before, translated before, commented on before, but none of them has made this significant change that this book has brought in this world. So with this premise, I would like to speak a few things from the Bhagavad Gita. I wanted to speak on this, touch upon this verse a bit. And so in Bhagavad Gita, something is very interesting. So there's something very special about the number 5. So there are many things that are 5 numbered in Bhagavad Gita. So would someone like to say anything that is 5 in Bhagavad Gita? Something.
Five topics of the Bhagavad Gita.
Very nice. 5 topics of the Bhagavad Gita. Anyone else?
5 Pandavas.
Pancha Pandava, 5 Pandavas. Thank you, Prabhu. Anybody else? So there's 5 elements. So we learn about 5 Pancha Mahabhutas, or the earth, air, fire, water, and ether. So there's 4 elements. And you also learn about, there are 5 speakers in Bhagavad Gita. Do you know that? So who are the 5 speakers? There are 5 people who speak in the Bhagavad Gita. Of course, Nrshimha, Sanjay, Arjuna, of course, Krishna. That should have been the first. Yeah. Who was the 5th one?
Oh, Duryodhana.
Sorry?
Duryodhana.
Very nice. Thank you, Mataji. So, there is one verse in which Duryodhana speaks. It's the first chapter. So there are 5 speakers in Bhagavad Gita, so that's very interesting. And so the 5 is something very interesting. So here also we have another 5. So this verse talks about the 5 factors that can influence the outcome of an action. Right? So Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita that any given moment we always do some action. And there is no moment where we can stop acting. So it's the nature of the Atma. So Atma means soul. So the soul is inhabiting this body, and it is animating this body. And it is because of the soul's presence. So the whole body is energized. And then the mind works, the intelligence works, the bodily limbs work. So all of this works because of the soul's presence. And so the soul's unique and capability is to desire, Icha Shakti. So the desire is the nature of the soul. So the desire leads to action. So desire leads to contemplation. Krishna says in the 2nd chapter of Bhagavad Gita, he explains how a desire translates into action, and how the action leads to becoming a character, one's own character. And that also Krishna speaks in the later chapters, that how it determines the next birth also. So this action is very, very important. It's very significant. And what will be the outcome of action is definitely more important. So does anyone like to do something without any motive or without any goal in mind? Yes, no? How many of you think we can do sometimes something without any motive? So we do sometimes watch YouTube or something. Sometimes we waste time. TV channels especially. We don't know what to do. We just want to kill time, and then we just watch different things.
Hare Krishna.
Yeah, that's a nice point. So devotees also do without any goal in mind. What do you mean by without any goal in mind? They don't have any goal for their own sake or for their own enjoyment or their own any gain to come out of their action. So they do it only for the pleasure of Krishna. So Krishna also describes such action as akarma in Bhagavad Gita, which means that it actually is no action, because it is action performed simply to please Krishna. and that is actually as good as no action because it doesn't result in any reactions. So that's a very nice perspective to it. So, but nobody likes to do something without any goal in mind. So at some point or other, even if we do YouTube TV for 8 hours a day, but there will be some point of time where others, or either parents or somebody will nudge us to do some action. Come on, go and do this homework. Come on, go and work at the office, make some money. So everybody likes to do something that has an outcome, because the outcome has to be something that is some gain to us. Otherwise, why would we do that? It should be some money, or it should be something for a future investment. So we always do calculate our actions and do things, whether it is going to give us, whether it's a good investment of time, it's a good investment of energy, so that it gives us something in return at a later point of time. So that's usually the way we think. So, how many of you think you'll be interested to know what factors influences the outcome of an action? Wouldn't you be interested?
The factors.
What factors influences the outcome of our action? How many of you think you'll be interested to know? Yeah. So, Krishna is speaking about that here. So he says that Adhishtanam tatha kartha karanam cha pratak vidam vividas cha pratak cheshta daivam chaivatra panchamam. So the place of action, the body, the performer, the various senses, the many different kinds of endeavor, and ultimately the super soul. These are the 5 factors of action. So when we do some action, so we sometimes have some outcome, but that outcome is not always what we desire or what we want, isn't it? So that's what we call it as. What do we call it as? Fate. Right? The fate is there. So there's something called as fate. So does Bhagavad Gita speak about fate? Yes, no? Yeah. So Bhagavad Gita does mention about fate. So we'll try to understand a little bit here. So what is fate? So definitely, so one thing is true, that we might want something as an outcome of an action, but it doesn't happen exactly same as we want it to. Sometimes it is favorable, sometimes it is not favorable. So that is called as duality. So that is called as good and evil. So some like, dislike. So that's the nature of this material world. The material world, everything that's duality. That is something that we like, we dislike. And the duality arises out of sense perception or the mental perception. So we always think, well, this is good for me, this is bad for me. And that comes from the mind. So the mind discriminates everything. Oh, I want this. This looks very nice. The iPhone is very nice. It gives me a lot of different things. I can see different channels. I can see YouTube. I can do different apps. And so we always discriminate. And once that becomes an old technology, we just discard it and then we take a different thing. So like that, we always discriminate. The mind always chooses good and evil, or nice and don't like and dislike. So with this in mind, so what are these 5 factors that is determining the outcome of the action? The first one, Krishna says, is our own self. The body, the place of action. So why place of action is called as body? Because we cannot do action unless we have a body. The body is the central instrument. Krishna calls this as an instrument. He says that it is an instrument. Nimitta matram bhavasavya sacham. Just become an instrument, Krishna says. This body is the instrument so that we can exercise our desires. As I mentioned, the soul has capacity to ichcha shakti, to desire. And how does a desire translate to action? Through this body. So if not for this body, we won't be able to exercise our desires. And so we should be thankful to our parents. The parents gave us this body. So the thought comes from the soul. The desire comes from the soul. And that translates into our contemplation. The mind contemplates on that desire. And then when there is an appropriate opportunity, that desire manifests into action through the body. So the body has different senses called working senses. Krishna speaks about working senses, which helps us do that particular action. And the outcome of the actions is first determined by we should have a body. Unless we have a body, we cannot exercise our desires. So, in the different places also, the Vedas we see, the Puranas, that there are some category of entities who have desires, but they are not able to perform actions. So just like there are, so what we call as sometimes called as ghosts. So they are also pretas. They also have the souls. They are entities like us. So they have the capacity to desire, but they don't have the body to exercise those desires. So having a body is a very great. We should be very fortunate that we have this body. And this what Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita also, in the Srimad Bhagavatam also, Durlabha Manusha Janma. To get a body is one thing, but to get a human body is something very, very rare. So you may not agree with me. There are so many people around and the population is exploding. Why do you even say that to get a human birth is so rare? Why it is rare? Because there are so many different species. When you compare, when you look around, there are so many, even within this room here. So we have different, there could be some ants, there could be some insects, and there could be so many bacteria in the air. So we don't really give a thought about that. At the best we think they are some entities. They are not even living, as some religion would have us think. But all of them are spirit souls, according to Bhagavad Gita. So they are called yonis. Yonis means they are instruments or vehicles. So this all these different species of life. So they also have the capacity. The souls who are inhabiting those bodies, they have the capacity to desire. But their desire is very much within the dimension, the three-dimensional box of, it's very, very conditioned or very, very limited. So it doesn't desire, and for example, a dog doesn't desire to come into the temple and read Bhagavad Gita or inquire some philosophical questions. It doesn't have the capacity, it doesn't have interest also. So all it is interested to do is whether I can get my things to eat, if my eating is fulfilled, if my stomach is full, then it looks for something more, some interesting things to do. And once it gets tired, it goes to sleep. So that's the range of activities it has. It's a very limited range. It's a very conditioned and limited range. So it doesn't do some things out of the box. But whereas humans, they always think something different. So this is a very common thing, thinking out of the box. We always want something new. We invent something, and yesterday's thing is news today, and then it's of no use. And then we look for something new. So we always want to do something new and keep ourselves amused, interested, and that's how the life goes on, right? So that capacity to go beyond, go out of the box is there in humans. So their range of activities is always increasing and increasing. So that's what us here Krishna mentions, talks about the place of action, or kshetra, adhisthana. So it means that this body is an instrument which helps us transform the desire to action. And this body is not just the physical body, which you can touch, see and hear, smell and things like that. So it is also has something called a subtle body, so which has a previous baggage of previous lifetimes activities, the karma, what we call as action reaction, and it has the desires come from the previous life. So this is all actually carried forward to the next life. So that's all there in the subtle body. So physical body is one thing, the subtle body is the most important thing. Because why it's most important? Because it is a baggage full of different desires that we have from various lifetimes, and it has all the different experiences that we have in various lifetimes. So if you ever think, when you close your eyes and go to sleep, so there are different things that happens in the mind. The mind just starts taking over. So there are different phases of sleep, you might know. So it starts with a very disturbed sleep, and then a dreamy sleep, and then goes to a deep sleep, and then comes back to a dreamy state. So there are different avastha, swapna avastha, there is turiya, and a lot of different stages of sleep. So why, if you look at the desires, so different people have different desires. We don't really give a very deep thought about it. Some people have interest in certain things from very childhood. They have some interest in music, or they have some interest in some games or something, without nobody telling them. So why is that happening? That's because it is all coming from the baggage of the previous life. So the desires is coming from the previous life. And the karma is also coming. The karma is what determines where we are born, which country we are born, or to which parents we are born, which species we are born. So all these things are determined by the karma. That's again a baggage that we are carrying in the subtle body. The subtle body, as you can see, is the most important thing. It's more important than the physical body. But unfortunately, we never think beyond the physical body. All we know, all we think, all we want to take care is just the physical body. And the subtle body is often ignored. And that leads to stress built in, and we don't know how to mend the relationships. So all these things can be easily handled if we understand the science of how it all works. The physical body, the subtle body, and the soul. So we have to give a lot of importance to it. That's why this Bhagavad Gita is, Srila Prabhupada mentioned, it's not just a philosophical textbook, or definitely not a religious textbook. And it's not just a philosophical textbook, it's a scientific textbook. It talks about the different things, the mechanics of how everything works, how the soul is transmigrating from one body to another, and how it happens, why it happens. And so it's a very detailed, if you want to understand, this is what you need to understand in the life. So this explains the mechanics of life, what happens from your birth to death, and what happens beyond death, and why we are like this, why we have certain desires, why we want to do this, what is my destination. So all the questions are very beautifully answered in this book called Bhagavad Gita. So you should definitely take this book and read this book. Coming back to the topic, so Adhishtanam is one thing, the place of work, the place of action, the body. Second one is the performer, Karta. Performer is definitely influencing one action. So let's say we go for an interview, and what does the interviewer look in that? So we definitely looks for our, how are we looking? Are you dressed up well? Have you shaved? Have you kind of decked up, ready for the situation? Are you if you have a very clumsy dress, and definitely nobody goes to interview like that. So definitely that's one thing. How you look is one thing. But the next thing they look at, are you a good performer? Are you a person with some substance in you? Are you right match for the job? So he looks at whether you have the skills. And what else he looks for? I want to hear from you. What does the interviewer looks for in an interview? Presentation, yes. Nice, very nice. What else? Experience, yes. So what is experience here in this case? The experience is the karma baggage that we carry, and the desires that we carry. That's the experience. So when we do an action, interview is again like an action. We're going for an interview is an action. And then outcome is not known. We don't know what's going to be the outcome. But we can do our best. We can dress up very well for the interview, and then we can make a good presentation of our skills and what we have done, the experience. And then what else we look for?
Qualification.
Yeah, qualification. In other words, they also look for how, for example, depends on the kind of the job that they're interviewing for. So do you know how to use the different instruments related to the job? So if you are interviewed for an software engineer position, then you look for whether you know this software, that software, whether you know how to use this to make this, or if you're working in let's say in factory, then they will know, do you know this instrument, how to use this instrument. So these things becomes important. That's what is the next one. So the next one is the so Karanam. Karanam means instrument. Adhisthana means place. Karta means worker. Karana means instruments. Prithak vidam. So they also look for what is your skill set. What are the different things that you have, you possess. So similarly, when you do an action, they will need to know the outcome of the action will depend upon whether you use the right instruments or the right approach. So that's very important. So becoming very educated on the situation is very important. So before you go for an interview, you definitely have to make an attempt to understand what is this job for, what is the job description, what are they asking for. So you have to prepare, and you have to have the appropriate skill sets. And you have, if you don't have them, at least you make up, right? You do that in the interviews. So these things becomes important. So instruments is very important. And after the instruments, what else you need? Someone mentioned about experience. Yes, that's very important. That's also mentioned here. Cheshta. Krishna mentions cheshta, endeavors. So that what we have done, what efforts we take to get a good outcome is also important. So just like an example that's given is, you might have a farmer a good example that's given in the Puranas is the farmer. A farmer sows the seed. And so you're in the right place. This is a farming community. So when you sow a seed, the seed has to grow and it has to give fruits. And that fruit is what is the outcome. That's what you're going to sell, that's what you're going to use to make money. So first thing is that you have to choose the right seeds. You don't use burnt seeds, right? If you use some burnt seeds, it's never going to come out. It's not going to sprout. So you have to use the right seeds. Choose the right seeds. Go and get the best quality seeds, which is disease resistant or which is pest resistant, so different factors. And then you must sow the seed. But what happens if you don't sow the seed and don't till the land? It's not going to sprout, right? So it might sprout or it might not get enough nutrients, so it's going to die off. So you have to definitely prepare the soil before you sow the seed. So there's a lot of work involved. That's our experience. That's what is our skill set that we carry. So without the skill set, proper skill set, you're not going to do the job. So you have to have good skill sets, which means you should have good karma. And you should till the land, you should do your efforts, you should endeavor. And finally what happens? You till the land, you water the sprouts, and you put even some fertilizers and everything. But finally, you need something else, something more. What do you need?
Blessings of the Lord.
Ah, very nice. Who was that? Thank you, Prabhu. So that's the last one, Devam. Devam means God, Krishna's final sanction, final blessing is required. So you might have action, you might perform, you might prepare very well for the interview. You might make up your resume very well. You can make up your skill sets. And you have to perform very well. And there is an element of faith also. So you should be asked the right questions. If they were to ask you the wrong questions and you don't know the answer, then you will be in trouble. So that's also there. So Devam, that's where God comes in picture. So yeah, everything has to go well. And finally, Krishna's blessings has also be there. So if there are many people who perform very well, then again you don't get a job. So you should perform very well, and you should be the only candidate who has performed well. Right? So there are many factors that come that influences the outcome of an interview. Similarly, any action that we do, it's very important. First is our desire becomes action. So we have to weigh our desires. We have to introspect. Is that desire is for my good or it is going to not be good to me? So we should carefully watch over. That's why God, Krishna has given intelligence. So intelligence is a component of the subtle body. That helps us to rationally think and determine if this action is good or bad for me. So the mind is always going into and accept and reject. Oh, this is nice. This ice cream is very nice. Or this medicine is very bitter. I don't want. So the mind is accept and reject. So it doesn't look into whether it is really good for me and not good for me. No. So all it takes and then rejects. Whereas the intelligence is what is the other component, very beautifully Krishna has given us in the body, which amasses all the experiences that we have in our life previously, which has taught us many lessons, which has given us so valuable experience that helps us to act upon the desire and think whether it is really good or bad for me. So just like so for an interview, you prepare very hard, and there might be so many distractions coming. There might be a football game, or there might be a cricket game, whatever different thing that comes. But those distractions could be wanting you, attracting you. Come on, let's open this, let's put this channel, let's watch this game. Or that could be something else that could be distracting you. So all these distractions is always there to take your mind away. The mind is pulled away in different directions by its distractions. The senses pulls us in different directions. So the intelligence is the one, the reins. The reins keeps the horses in the chariot. If not for the reins, the horse is going to fly away. So all the senses is going to be pulling us in different directions. It's pulling the mind in different directions. So we need the intelligence to rein in all the horses, and then harness the power of the horse to move in a direction that we want to. So the intelligence is a God-given instrument, which is to be used very judiciously. It's just to be used very for determining whether we should perform the action and how we perform the action. So that's very important. And the intelligence is not just a material intelligence. So of course we all use our intelligence. We use our intelligence to perform well in the exams, or perform well in the interview, or to make something work, to get something done from someone. We use intelligence in all crony and crooked ways sometimes to get things that way we want. That's not the intelligence we're talking about here. So the intelligence comes from the spirit soul. So that's a spiritual intelligence. The spiritual intelligence comes from, can someone say from where it comes?
From meditation.
Yeah, meditation, yes, very nice. But meditating on what?
God's names.
Yeah, God's names. Yeah, that's where the Bhagavad Gita comes. Krishna says in the 18th chapter that whoever reads Bhagavad Gita, they are worshipping me with their intelligence. So the intelligence is really exercised, the spiritual intelligence, when we read Bhagavad Gita. And we hear from realized people, from Srila Prabhupada, from great authorities on the Bhagavad Gita. When you hear, intelligence becomes purified. Otherwise, intelligence is full of different rubbish. So it always thinks about how to do this, how to get this done, how to cheat this person to get my work done. It always thinks about ways to get shortcuts and get things to have something happen quick or in a favorable way. So but the spiritual intelligence is one which gives us the intelligence to rationally think according to the Bhagavad Gita, according to the instructions of God. What is good for me in my life? In my, not just now, not just in the short term, but in the long term. Long term is not just in the next 5 years, but in not just the retired life. So the most we think about what? We think about 5 minutes, next 5 minutes, what can I do to make myself happy? Or sometimes we think about next 1 year, how can I prepare very well for my exams? That's all we think. Or the best, we think about our retired life. How can I save enough money to have a very comfortable retired life? But no one thinks about what is the next life. Right? Next life is also important. The next life, we could be a dog on the street, or we could be a cat in the street. So we could be the grass which we are walking on all the time. So we don't know what we're going to end up as. It's very, very important to know what is our next life. And that's why Bhagavad Gita helps us. It gives us information about how we should conduct ourselves in this life so that we can have a good and prosperous future next life. So Krishna mentions about how to get to the higher planets, heavenly planets, where you can get a lot of heavenly pleasures and comforts and have no body with no disease, with no old age, and with no kind of limitation in your enjoyment. That's called heavenly planets. So Krishna mentions about that. And Krishna also talks about, okay, if you think you're bored with all these things, so Krishna mentions that there are categories of souls. Bahunam janmanam ante jnanaman mam prapatite vasudevam sarvamiti samahatma sudurlabha. So out of many, many great jnanis or the people who are intellectuals, some people become mature in this life because of their experience in the past life. They have gone through all the different things. They've gone through all the species of life. They've been a cat, they've been a dog, they've been everything. And they have experienced all the heavenly pleasures in the heavens and everything. And they have come back here. So they are retaining that experience. And they start thinking, is it all? I've seen this all. I've seen this, everything in this world. So they are looking for something that is permanent. So we all are looking for something that is permanent. That's the nature of the soul. The nature of the soul is it looks for something permanent. It looks for something satisfying to the mind, intelligence. And it looks for something that is giving happiness. So how many of you don't want happiness? Does someone does something for others' happiness all the time? We also look for our happiness, isn't it? So people might do for others' happiness sometimes, but not for all the time. Ultimately, we look for happiness of the self. Because it's the nature of the Atma. Ananda Mayo Vyasa, he said in the Vedanta Sutra, that the nature of the soul is to seek happiness. And that's the whole purpose of everything. So that's where the desire comes from. The desire, how do we get that Icha Shakti or the capacity to desire? Because we are a spirit soul. And where does the happiness come is what we do not know. We're looking for happiness everywhere. Even the dog looks for happiness because it's a spirit soul. The bacteria looks for happiness because it's a spirit soul. The tiger looks for happiness because it's a spirit soul. And its happiness is sometimes in coming and eating us. Right? So because that's what its happiness. And happiness is always very relative. It's pertaining to the body. But we don't see beyond that surface. Beyond the surface is the spirit soul, which the happiness of the spirit soul lies in something more, not just satisfying the body, in satisfying the spirit. So Bhagavad Gita talks about how to satisfy the spirit, how to satisfy the spirit soul. What does the spirit soul really want? So we might satisfy the body. At the best, we might satisfy the mind. So there are different species of life. If you look at different species of life, so there is an Upanishad called as, I forgot the name of the Upanishad. So it says there are different ranges, different stages of evolution of species of life. So one is called Annamaya. Annamaya means there are many, everything that you look after, every species that you're looking at, be it a dog or a cat or an bacteria or an amoeba. So they are looking for something to fill their belly. Anna. Anna means food. So all they are interested is food. Every living entity, it wants food. It wants something to fill up their belly. And that's what gives energy to any activities. So that might be the first stage. The second stage of the evolution of life, or the Atma, is the Annamaya and Pranamaya. Pranamaya means thinking about how to continue life, not just eating, but continue the life. So it thinks about the next future also. So next is Manomaya. Manomaya means mind. It looks for satisfying the mind. So what keeps me happy? So if we have our food, then what do we do next to make ourselves happy? We turn on a TV. The TV gives us different pictures, different things that's happening, and that keeps our mind happy. So we feel connected to it. We feel there is some satisfaction from it. It's called Manomaya. The next one is called Jnanamaya. Jnanamaya means that is satisfying to the intelligence. That's a higher evolution of life. So most of the 99.99% of the species of life, they are happy with just these two levels, Annamaya and then Manomaya. So third stage, Jnanamaya, so intellectual platform. So that's why the inquiry happens. So we inquire what is good for us. So let us do something that is good for us in the future, in the retired life, or in the next life. That's called as Jnanamaya. So the humans come in that category. So we are Jnana, we look for knowledge, intelligence. We use our intelligence to look for what is good for us in the future, not just the near future, but for the future come, the whole life. And beyond that is called Anandamaya. Anandamaya means we look for something beyond just the mind and intelligence, and that's called a spirit, the spirit's happiness or bliss. Anandamaya means bliss, and that is what satisfies the soul. So we know what satisfies the body, we know what satisfies the mind, we know what satisfies the intelligence, but what satisfies the soul, nobody knows. What satisfies the soul is, Bhagavad Gita very nicely explains that we have to understand who we are first. What is our identity? Our identity is that we are spirit soul and we are part and parcel of Krishna. Krishna is the Supreme Father. He says, Aham Bija Pratapita. I am the seed-giving Father for everyone. And the Bible also talks about the son who was separated from the father, prodigal son. So we have, just like that this biblical story, so we also have given up a relationship with Krishna, with God. And because we have given up the relationship with God, we are not happy. The spirit is not happy. The spirit is very dry and it is not satisfied. And it's looking for happiness in the bodily platform. We're looking for happiness in different acts that we're doing, actions that we're doing. We're looking for happiness in looking at the TV and watching different channels. We're looking for happiness in achieving some intellectual feats. But that does not satisfy us. Because we are not the mind, or we are not the intelligence, we are not the body. But we are spirit soul, we are Atma. Atma is happy only when we understand relationship with Krishna and we engage in devotional service to Krishna. That is when we become really happy. Because He is the enjoyer and we are the enjoyer. So, it's the nature of the spirit soul to render service to Krishna and make Him happy. So, nothing else will make the spirit soul happy. So, until and unless we realize this point, that we are spirit souls and we are meant to serve Krishna, and we will never be fully happy. Our happiness is short-lived. Our happiness is going to be for a moment. It's a momentary happiness. So, Bhagavad Gita Krishna very beautifully explains that Yehi samsparshaja boga dukkha yonaya evate adi antavanta kaunteya nateshu ramate Buddha. So he says, who is intelligent? Krishna says, Buddha means intelligent. Person who is intelligent, he who understands that Yehi samsparshaja boga, the enjoyment, boga, which comes from the contact of the sense with the sense object, is short-lived. Antavanta. Antavanta means it has a beginning, it has an end. So that is very short-lived. So a person who knows this is called a real intelligent person. So Bhagavad Gita gives this information to us. So the conclusion of my little talk here is that we have to give importance to the soul. That we are not the body, we are the spirit soul. And we have to cater to the needs of the soul. And that is by rendering service to Krishna. Krishna is the Supreme Father. Krishna is the all-merciful Lord. And He is waiting for us. He says, Paramatma is sitting in our heart. And is looking if we will ever turn our face to Him. So He has been waiting for eons and eons in His material body. Along with the soul, He is sitting there. And is looking at us, whether we will ever look at His beautiful face. But we have always been turning away from Him, looking for this pleasure here, this pleasure there, this satisfaction here, this satisfaction there. So we have always been neglecting what is necessary for our soul, for Atma. So that's trying to give you a glimpse of what Bhagavad Gita is telling us, what is prompting us to do. So if you have any questions, anything to add from whatever I spoke, I would be more than happy to add more light into that. And anybody would like to add any points, please feel free to do that. Any questions from anybody who has come now recently, not today, for the first time, second time? about Bhagavad Gita in general.
So if the best conclusion of our action is that it's pleasing to Krishna, how do we know exactly what it is that Krishna would like for us to do if we can't see the Super Soul?
That's a very good question. So how do we understand what Krishna wants? So that we understand by advancing in spiritual life, by listening to the spiritual guide, the Guru, and by understanding what Krishna wants from his reading about him in the Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam, and what the Acharyas have been telling us. So that is what will help us to understand Krishna, what he wants. And at a certain point, definitely we will have a relationship with Krishna, we can revive a relationship with Krishna, and we will have some intuition in us, tell us what is really Krishna, whether he's happy with us or not. But right now, we're not in that state. So until we come to that state of an established relationship with Krishna, we have to follow what is given in Bhagavad Gita. The general guidelines are there. What is given in the Bhagavad Gita, what is given by the instruction of great sages, great saints, acharyas. That's what is giving, that will help us to understand what Krishna wants.
So anything we do without that guidance is wasteful energy, wasteful time.
Most likely.
Prabhupada said that in the meantime that we should try to dovetail whatever our propensities are towards what Krishna has instructed.
Yeah, so that's the next stage. First is to understand this, called Sambandha. Right? Understand that who we are, what's your connection with Krishna, why we have to revive a relationship with God, Krishna. That's the first stage. Next is about devotional service. And that I'm not trying to speak about that here. It's another topic, a very different day. So, but yeah, yes, Prabhu, you're right. Thank you.
Thank you for your talk, Prabhu. Really appreciate it. In another verse of the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says that he who thinks of me at the time of death is sure to attain me. So how should we understand that verse with respect to what we heard from you today? Because that is also a form of desire or an action, right? Meditating upon Krishna when we are dying or at the time of death. And how do we put the proper context on that?
Yes, it's a very nice extension of this verse. So, yeah, it's very true. So, Krishna mentions that whoever can think of me, if somebody can think of me at the time of leaving the body, then they'll attain the same nature as me. So, which means that that's a desire that we have to cultivate throughout our life. So, because the end of the life is not in our control. When it comes to even when you get old, the body doesn't listen to you anymore. The body listens to you as long as you are young. And as we get older and older, the body doesn't listen to us. We want to hear certain things. If you get old, it's difficult to hear. We want to see certain things, the eyes doesn't cooperate. Or the mind doesn't cooperate. Or you feel tired. So there are many things that happens as we get old. So the best thing is to train the body, the mind, the soul from the very childhood. In the Bhagavatam, Prahalad Maharaj says you have to start training from the age 5. That's when you start training your mind and intelligence and everything to think about Krishna and prepare your life for a long life ahead. So the training has to come. All the time we have to keep this in mind. That unless we train for the final exam of death, we won't be able to make it. Think about Krishna at the time of death. So that's, we have to, it's possible, that's a desire we have to cultivate all throughout our life to be able to achieve that, to be able to think of him at the time of death. And because at the time of death, this body is definitely not going to cooperate. It's going to be almost impossible. So yes, the desire, at that time Krishna is fully sanctioning it. If you can think of him at the time of death, there is no other factors coming into play. It's only Devam, only Krishna. So he is completely taking over, and then he gives you what you desire for. Any questions? Anything else from anyone? Those who come for the first time or second time, any questions? Anything, please feel free to feel free to ask. So how many of you are interested today? How many of you think you should start reading Bhagavad Gita if you're not read already? No, still I'm not spoken well enough to inspire perhaps. So please kindly take a Bhagavad Gita home and read Bhagavad Gita every day. And so Yogendra Prabhu has requested if I can help coordinate some kind of an online Bhagavad Gita discussion. If any of you are interested, so please feel free to talk to me. Anybody else in the temple, not just me. So I'll be more than happy to help you in understanding about Bhagavad Gita and helping you the spiritual journey towards understanding Krishna. So thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.